The gift basket appeared in the middle of my 1-2-hour shift in the Seattle Grace ER, and it took only 10 seconds for me to realize my 8-year marriage was over. A nurse set the large box on the instrument table just as I was stitching up a construction worker's torn hand. She frowned. "Dr. Chen, this was sent for you. In the ER, thank you gifts aren't unusual. Flowers, cookies, a messy card from a patient's family. But what sat in front of me was different. French wine, aged whiskey, artisan chocolates. Everything was so expensive it bordered on showy. This wasn't a thank you gift. It was a message. Between the two bottles was a cream-colored card. I read it while the needle was still between my fingers. "Thank you for letting me borrow, Marcus. He's more useful than you think. But then again, you're always busy saving people anyway. V." My hands didn't shake. 8 years as an ER doctor teaches you how to stay calm when everything is falling apart. The construction worker kept talking about his fall from the scaffolding. I finished the last stitch, cut the thread, bandaged it, and told him to keep the wound dry for 48 hours. My voice was as steady as ever, but inside everything had changed. Because I knew exactly who V was. Victoria Sterling. A luxury real estate developer, my husband's biggest client for the past 6 months. 15 minutes later, I was standing in the ER supply room and texted Marcus exactly 4 words. "We need to talk." The reply came almost immediately. "Is everything okay?" Too fast. Too ready. I didn't mention the gift basket. I didn't mention the card. Instead, I texted tomorrow, 3 p.m. At home. Bring your key. I had exactly 20 hours before my husband walked into the penthouse I bought with the signing bonus from my contract 3 years ago. 20 hours to find the truth. 20 hours to gather evidence. And 20 hours to make sure that when Marcus came home, everything in his life would be over. For the 6 months before that gift basket appeared, Marcus had been changing, and I should have noticed sooner. At first it was small things. The department store shirts disappeared, replaced by tailored ones from an expensive boutique in Belltown. The Armani cologne I gave him for Christmas was replaced with Tom Ford. He started going to a barber shop instead of the cheap hair salon. There was a personal trainer. A wine club. New suits Marcus had never cared about before. Whenever I asked, he just laughed. "High-end clients," he said over dinner. "I have to look the part. Victoria Sterling sells 8-figure properties. Buyers like that notice every detail." That was the first time I heard the name. Victoria Sterling, a developer building luxury condos near Pike Place. Marcus said she had chosen him as the exclusive agent for the penthouses. "It's a huge opportunity," Safi told me. "The kind that leads to early retirement." I believed him. More than that, I was proud. Marcus had built his career from nothing, weekend open houses, taking listings no one else wanted, working while I was still in medical school. He deserved success. Then the gifts started appearing. First, a crate of wine. "Victoria sent it for the team," Marcus said. Then cigars. An expensive bottle of whiskey. Then a Rolex. Every time I asked, Marcus had a smooth explanation: client gifts, bonuses, business relationships. "I'm a doctor. I'm used to noticing signs other people miss." But I was also working 60 hours a week in the ER, sleeping during the day while Marcus was out showing homes. Our schedules had always been opposite. I told myself the distance was just because of work, until one afternoon in June. I woke up at 2 in the afternoon to get some water and found Marcus's laptop open on the kitchen table. He was looking at real estate. But not in Seattle. In Maui, beachfront villas worth millions, homes that even with Marcus's new commissions we couldn't possibly afford. When I asked, he shrugged. "Victoria's expanding," he said. "I'm just researching the market." It sounded reasonable. There was only one thing that made my stomach turn cold: the way Marcus said her name. Victoria. Like the name itself tasted sweet. I didn't confront Marcus then. Instead, I did what I do every day in the ER: find the cause before treating the problem. On the first Thursday morning in August, I called a man named Jake Rivera. 3 years earlier, his daughter had been brought into the ER after a car accident. 17 years old. Internal bleeding. We operated for 6 hours to keep her alive. Jake was a private investigator. After the surgery, he tried to press money into my hand in the ICU waiting room. I refused, but I kept his business card in my wallet. Just in case. "You need someone followed," I said when Jake answered. "Who is it, doctor? I want the full schedule. Photos." Evidence. Everything. There was a pause. Who is it? My husband. Jake didn't ask any more questions. He simply said, understood. I'll be discreet. 2 weeks later the report arrived. Thick, detailed, impossible to deny. Marcus wasn't just having an affair with Victoria Sterling. He was practically living a second life with her. 3 nights a week at Victoria's waterfront mansion. Dinners at restaurants you have to book a month in advance. Weekends on a yacht in the San Juan Islands. Trips Marcus had told me were broker conferences. The photos Jake took were enough to destroy any marriage. Marcus at an art exhibition, his hand resting on Victoria's back. Marcus and Victoria holding hands in a restaurant in Pioneer Square. Marcus kissing her on the deck of a yacht at sunset. But what sent a chill down my spine wasn't Marcus. It was Victoria. In every photo she wasn't looking at Marcus. She was looking straight at the camera. As if she knew she was being watched. As if this entire thing was a victory meant to be documented. And that's when I started digging deeper. 3 days later I realized something horrifying. Marcus wasn't the first. He wasn't even the second. He was just the newest trophy in Victoria Sterling's collection. 3 days later, when I started digging into Victoria Sterling's past, everything began falling into place with terrifying speed. At first it was just an old article. 6 years ago, a prominent Seattle attorney went through a sudden divorce. Her husband, a young lawyer on track to make partner, had been discovered having an affair with a real estate developer. The woman's name, Victoria Sterling. I kept digging. 4 years ago, the husband of one of Seattle's top cardiac surgeons. 3 years ago, the husband of a female tech CEO who had just sold her company for $50 million. The same pattern. The wife successful, respected, earning more than her husband. The husband working with or doing business with Victoria. Then the affair, the divorce, the wife leaving Seattle. And the husband's career collapsing shortly after Victoria lost interest. If I went back further, I found 2 more cases. The same pattern. Victoria entered their lives through business. Victoria made the husband feel important, special, chosen. Victoria broke the marriage. Then Victoria disappeared. No goodbye. No looking back. And those men, they lost their families, their reputations, their careers. This wasn't love. It wasn't even lust. It was a power game. Victoria Sterling collected the husbands of successful women the way other people collect trophies to prove she could take anything from anyone. And Marcus, my husband, was just the newest item in that collection. I should have felt shattered, but instead I felt something cold and clear. Victoria Sterling had made a very big mistake. She chose the wrong person to play this game with. She chose an ER doctor, someone who has spent an entire career staying calm while everything is dying on the operating table. And this time I would be the one diagnosing the disease. I knew what I needed to do next. But first I needed to meet the women who had once been exactly where I was now. The first person I reached out to was Patricia Holbrook. 6 years earlier, her marriage had been one of Victoria Sterling's first trophies. Patricia had been a well-known civil rights attorney in Seattle before the divorce, after which she moved to Portland. I called her office on a Monday morning. I'm a doctor in Seattle, I told her assistant. I need to speak with Patricia about Victoria Sterling. Patricia called me back in less than an hour. Dr. Chen, she said, her voice calm. How can I help you? This is about Victoria Sterling. And my husband. On the other end of the line there was exactly 5 seconds of silence. Then Patricia said, I'll be in Seattle tomorrow. Where should we meet? We met at a cafe in Capitol Hill. Patricia was in her late 40s, sharp and composed. She ordered an Americano and listened as I told her everything: the gift basket, the card, Jake's investigation, and the pattern I had uncovered. When I finished, Patricia nodded slowly. She did the same thing to me, she said. Patricia's ex-husband had once managed a real estate project for Victoria. 6 months later, Patricia began noticing hotel bills and strange expenses. When I confronted him, Patricia said he told me Victoria made him feel important. Successful. Seen. I assume your marriage ended. Patricia laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, she said. My marriage ended 6 months before Victoria dumped him. She looked straight at me. Those men think they're winning. But really they're just the way Victoria keeps score. And when the game stops being fun, Patricia shrugged. She discards them. I didn't stop with Patricia. If Victoria Sterling had done this more than once, then there had to be other women like us. And I wanted to meet every one of them. The second woman was Dr. Michelle Park, a cardiac surgeon who had once been very well known in Seattle. After her divorce 4 years ago, Michelle moved to Boston. I found out she was returning to the city for a medical conference. We met at the convention center between two presentations. Michelle looked tired, but the moment I mentioned the name Victoria Sterling, her expression changed instantly. "She's still doing that?" Michelle asked. "For at least 6 years," I said. Michelle let out a quiet breath. "My ex-husband worked in pharmaceuticals. Victoria hired him as a consultant for a real estate project, some kind of health-focused marketing for the building. 3 months later they were having an affair. I wanted to save the marriage," Michelle said. "I even suggested couples therapy. Then one day Michelle received a bouquet of flowers at the hospital where she worked. Inside was a card. 'Thank you for sharing. He's happier now.'" Michelle looked down at the table for a long moment. "I'm a cardiac surgeon," she said. "I've saved hundreds of hearts. But I couldn't save my own marriage." "What happened to your husband?" I asked. Michelle gave a bitter smile. "Victoria dumped him 8 months after the divorce was finalized. He flew to Boston to find Michelle, saying Victoria had only used him, that he wanted to come back." Michelle shook her head. "I told him something my mother used to say. When I was little, there are things that once given away can never be taken back." She looked straight at me. "You're not planning to forgive Marcus, are you?" "No," I said. Michelle nodded. "Then what are you planning to do?" I was silent for a few seconds. Then I said, "I'm going to end Victoria Sterling's game." Michelle studied me for a long moment, as if deciding whether I was truly serious. "How do you plan to do that?" she asked. "I need all of you," I said. "Everyone Victoria has hurt." Michelle frowned. "For what? I want everyone to show up in the same place. Where somewhere Victoria Sterling can't just walk away." I paused. "And somewhere everyone with power in this city will already be there." Michelle slowly understood. "You're talking about a public exposure." "No," I said. "This isn't a jealous scene. This is an indictment." The next 3 weeks moved with the cold precision of surgery. I found 3 more women. Elena Rodriguez, the CEO who had sold her tech company for $50 million. Sarah Mitchell, a corporate attorney. Catherine Lee, a university professor. Every story was terrifyingly similar. Victoria entered their lives through business. Victoria made their husbands feel special. Victoria destroyed the marriage. Then Victoria disappeared. When I explained my plan, none of them refused. "She needs to be stopped," Elena said. "A long time ago," Catherine added. "The perfect venue already existed. In 3 weeks my hospital would host its annual fundraising gala at the Four Seasons. 200 guests. Doctors. Business leaders. Investors. Media. The very people Victoria Sterling depended on for respect and influence. Getting Victoria there would be easy. I just needed Marcus to invite her." That morning at breakfast, I said it casually, my voice completely normal. "Victoria should come to the hospital gala." Marcus looked up. "Really, her company's expanding," I said. "The hospital is looking for sponsors for the new trauma wing. A naming opportunity." Marcus smiled immediately. "That's a great idea, Soph." He didn't suspect a thing. Why would he? In Marcus's eyes, I was still the busy wife working night shifts. The one who had no idea her marriage was being destroyed. He had no idea that for the past 2 months, I had been preparing for the night Victoria Sterling's life would collapse in front of the entire city of Seattle. The night of the gala arrived faster than I expected. The evening before, I was still in the operating room. A 7-year-old girl hit by a car was brought into the ER at 1A. Severe internal injuries. We operated for nearly 4 hours. Cases like that force absolute focus, every stitch, every decision, every heartbeat on the monitor. When the surgery ended and the girl's parents broke down in tears because their daughter survived, I felt that familiar sense of purpose again. This is who I am. Not Marcus's wife, not Victoria Sterling's rival. I am a doctor who saves lives. That morning I got home at 6, took a quick shower and put on the dress I had prepared for the gala, deep blue, simple but elegant. Not the kind of dress worn by someone trying to compete, but the kind worn by someone who has already won. The gala was held in the ballroom of the Four Seasons. I arrived at 6 p.m. to check everything one last time, the lighting, the presentation screen, the guest list. 200 people would be there tonight. Patricia, Michelle, Elena, Sarah, and Catherine arrived together at 6:30. The 5 women standing side by side looked exactly like what they truly were: successful, powerful, and with nothing left to lose. "Are you ready?" Patricia asked. I nodded. "It's time." Marcus and Victoria walked in at 7:15. I watched them from across the room. Victoria wore a red dress, flawless, as if she had stepped off the cover of a magazine. Marcus stood beside her, his hand lightly resting on her back as if he had just won something. He didn't know, neither of them knew, that in less than an hour, everyone in this room would know exactly who Victoria Sterling really was. And when that happened, there would be no way back. At 8 p.m., I stepped onto the stage. The lights in the ballroom dimmed. 200 guests turned toward the podium. Doctors, business leaders, investors, the very people Victoria Sterling's reputation depended on. I began with the familiar speech of any fundraising gala, thanking the sponsors, thanking the community for supporting the hospital, thanking everyone for helping us build the new trauma wing. Everything was perfect, professional, normal. Then I smiled. "But tonight," I said, "we're not just raising money for medical equipment. We're also talking about a pattern of behavior that has been destroying the lives of successful women in this city." In the crowd, I saw Victoria frown slightly. I continued. "I'd like to invite a few women to join me on stage." I read each name: Patricia Holbrook, Dr. Michelle Park, Elena Rodriguez, Sarah Mitchell, Catherine Lee. A murmur spread through the room as the 5 women walked up and stood beside me. I looked straight at the crowd. "These 5 women have something in common," I said. "They were all once married to men who worked with a real estate developer here in Seattle." I paused, then spoke the name clearly. "Victoria Sterling." The air in the room froze. I saw Victoria standing motionless at the back of the ballroom. Marcus beside her, his face pale. "All of these marriages," I continued, "ended the same way. An affair, a divorce. And then, Victoria Sterling moved on to her next target." The screen behind me lit up. Jake's photos appeared. Victoria, with each of the men, the same smile, the same touch, the same pattern. The entire room went so quiet I could hear someone drop a wine glass. I looked straight at Victoria. "This isn't love," I said. "This is predation." Then I said the final sentence, the one I had been waiting 2 months to say. "Victoria Sterling didn't destroy these marriages because she wanted those men." I pointed toward Marcus. "She did it because we had them first." The entire room erupted, not into applause but into a wave of chaotic sound. Whispers. Sharp breaths. Chairs shifting. Phones being pulled out. 200 people realizing at the same time that they were witnessing something the entire city of Seattle would be talking about tomorrow morning. Victoria stood frozen. The red of her dress now looked almost too bright under the lights. Her face had gone pale, but her eyes still tried to hold that familiar composure, the calm of someone used to controlling every room she walked into. Except this time, the room no longer belonged to her. Marcus was different. He looked like someone had just had all the air pulled from his lungs. His eyes were wide, moving from the screen to me, then to Victoria. He was beginning to understand. Piece by piece, I stepped back from the podium, letting the screen behind me continue. Photos of Victoria with each man. Photos of Marcus on the yacht. Photos of their hands intertwined at the restaurant. The same smile. The same touch. The same victory. Victoria tried to move through the crowd, but every path was blocked by people staring at her as if they had just discovered a filthy secret. Some people had already started recording. Others just stood there staring. Marcus still hadn't moved. His world had just collapsed in the middle of that ballroom, and he knew the worst part wasn't losing me. It was realizing that Victoria had never truly chosen him. He had only been the newest item, a trophy, a point on a scoreboard. At the back of the room, Victoria finally turned and walked out. Without a word, without looking back, exactly the way she had left all the men before him. Except this time, the entire city had seen it. After everything, I realized something simple: betrayal does not define your worth. People like Victoria Sterling live by taking what belongs to others to feel like they're winning. But real victory isn't about keeping a man, it's about keeping your dignity, your independence, and your own life. If you start to see the signs of deception, don't rush to react with emotion. Stay calm, find the truth, and protect yourself. In the end, what you build, your career, your self-respect, your genuine relationships, will always be worth more than anyone who tries to take them from you.